Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And in today's stream, I'm going to be working a little bit more on my teaser trailer. I know it's been taking me a while to complete. Uh, I'm a bit rusty, but it's coming along rather nice. I wanted to do my next Passover of rough animation. I'm trying to add a bit more detail to my stuff, so then once that's done, I can just put down my final line art and then color. So I'm saving the most tedious part for last. I'm working on a few background characters right now. This character, I really didn't give much thought to him. He's just sort of like a background character that exists. He's not really meant to have any backstory or anything. All in all, this has been a fun project to work on. It's obviously taken me a while. I'll probably be done with this scene in the next, probably at the end of this week if I work regularly on it. Nothing much has really been going on in my life. Like, the most interesting thing that happened to me was like a thunderstorm that happened last night. Gosh, I know I am just boring. Like, I'll see a bunch of videos on YouTube about how people have these crazy stories of like them having to fight people off or like going through the drive-through and other stuff like that. I mean, I just like exist. So sorry, I can't really tell you guys any stories. At least not while I work on this. I might have like a mini story, but it's nothing wild. There was this one time when, so like every few years, this was back when my grandmother was still living, but every few years, my whole family, we would like get together and go to Virginia. And so on our way back, we had stopped by this ice cream place and we had gotten some ice cream. And then after we had just crossed over the North Carolina border, there was like this severe thunderstorm. Now, this was, I want to say, maybe 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago, and we had this like severe thunderstorm. And it was just coming down raining. There was like a power outage, like lights were off and everything. We had just brought my grandmother back to her apartment, and my mom and I, we were about to go on our side of town. Because my grandmother at the time, her apartment was in like it was in Southwest or just South Raleigh. And my mom's house and we were living in Northeast Raleigh. So we literally had to go to the opposite side of town just to go home. And so, like, we had just went on Capitol Boulevard when the lights were just out. It was like severe thunder, severe rain. It was pitch black. Like, we could barely see anything with the headlights. And so there were actually like cops outside directing traffic. Like, they had safety vests on, they had lights on and everything, and they were directing traffic. And all throughout that time we were driving home, my grandmother kept calling and she said, "You guys can come back. It's dangerous outside. You can come back." And that's the lovely thing about my grandmother, was she was such a kind woman and she was so nice. Like, she would constantly be calling, like, "You guys, are you okay? You guys can come back. It's not too late to come back." And then we just said, "No, no, we have to go home. We can't stay." And like, and so we finally got home and we were just soaking wet in rainwater. And my mom had called my grandmother and said, "Hey, we made it safely home." That was one story. Let's see. Um, I'll work on this one. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually hiding a few of these figures, so then I don't get overwhelmed or lose concentration. It's actually a good technique because when I was still in college, the professors, they didn't really go over concepts like that, about how you can save your CPU or you can save your processing power by turning certain layers off. And that was a sort of a good tip that I learned. And then another time while I was in college, I had to use Photoshop to animate. Now, me, I usually like to use Adobe Animate for my animations. So I had to use Photoshop for this one project, and it was really slow. Like, you couldn't really sketch using Photoshop with animation because it was so slow. It would just tear away at your processor. And then, like, I'm asking my professor, like, "Hey, what's up? Like, why is this taking so long?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, you're just going to deal with it." And, like, a lot of my course mates, they ended up turning in their projects late because their laptops and the computers, like, in the actual lab, were processing like really slow because they just had so much memory from different brushstrokes. And so then I had figured out that you actually have to purge your library. Like, once you get to a safe space, you can purge your history, and that frees up your memory. So I'll actually show you on Adobe Animate, but there is a function like this in Photoshop. Uh, you have this history tab right here, and so what your history does, and Photoshop has a similar mechanic window type thing, is every action you do, like from brush strokes to tweens to effects, anything like that, it catalogs it. So you have like hide layer, select layer, clear frame selection. If I go up further, you're going to see like fluid brush strokes. So when you press Control Z, the undo button, it lets you go back to that previous state in case you make a mistake. Now, what you want to do is, first, if you're at a safe place, you want to press Control S. That saves your document. Control S, save your document. Then after that, you're going to want to press this Options button and click Clear History. And it'll give you a warning right here Photoshop has a similar warning where it says clearing the history removes undue steps to free up memory and disk space. You just say yes, okay, and then after you've done that, you it saves up your memory. So now um, so now your program like Photoshop or Animate doesn't run as slow. And so I ended up telling like my classmates about this, and they said, "Oh wow, that's really helpful. That's really nice. That's really cool." So like that's another thing that happened. Honestly, people have like a bunch of wild college stories. My college was like fairly normal. And like that's saying something because I know for a fact like everyone in my college was like a nerd. And that's not even like disrespect. Like I'm a nerd. And I'm saying like these people were nerds. And like everyone was in fandom, everyone was like reading fan fiction. I think this was the time when sort of geek culture and nerd culture became mainstream. So yeah, it was like an influx of people being allowed to freely express themselves, which is kind of funny once you think about it because when I was in high school, like I had to keep my nerdy interests secret. Like if you liked anime or if you like pretty much if you like anime, if you like D&D, if you like anything weird, that was like immediate fodder for you to be bullied. So like I kept my interests to myself. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like everyone in college was a nerd, which it's kind of cool. Like it's kind of rad. Like I can see why people would flock to stuff like that in college. Because, like, when you're in college, you're very busy. And, like, yeah, there are events and yeah, there are functions, but for the most part, like, you have stuff to do. You have things you need to do. You have schoolwork or you have stuff like that. And, in hindsight, like, there were a bunch of different movie events and, like, a big thing for my college was Rocky Horror Picture Show, where like I think it was like either like sometime in the fall, the entire student body would get together, go to our theater, and they would just play Rocky Horror. And like they had little baggies where you could like throw popcorn or like you had clappers and stuff like that at different party favors that like when certain things happen, like you could just like do certain things. Like I remember there was this one thing that happened in Rocky Horror. Like this is the one thing that I remember. I don't remember all the things, but essentially it was like when the two main characters of Rocky Horror, when they're talking, and this is the scene like after they, cheat on each other. It's like everyone would like shout like asshole slut at the two main characters of Rocky Horror. And like there was other stuff too, but that was like the one big thing that stands out to me because it was so interesting. College was fun, like honestly. Now I do realize that college is not for everyone, but if you ever have the option to go to college, like I say, take that chance. You will meet a bunch of different and cool people, and honestly, college for me was fun. The debt's not fun, and the fear of not being able to pay your loans isn't fun, but for the most part, if you have the option, I say take it. Go to college if you want to. But where am I going with this? Oh yeah. So shrines were a thing. Yeah, like in the art building, students. Okay, so nobody uses the lockers in college. They're just there. But essentially, what happened was in in my 2 years that I lived on campus, some of the students like had shrines for different like characters and actors. Like there was like an anime waifu shrine. There was a Danny DeVito shrine. There were um there was like a Bara shrine, and I'm not gonna go into detail of what Bara is. Like if you're into anime, you should know what Bara is. I'm not trying to get canceled before I even make it big or before I even reach 1,000. But essentially, like they had these shrines, and like they would like put stuff in these shrines. Like they would have like a bunch of and like these are people in college, so like they're grown adults. This is not too wild. I mean, it was wild, but it wasn't like crazy or anything. But like they would have like toys in there. They would have like different pictures of whoever the shrine was about. They would have just a bunch of like different and crazy stuff in these shrines, and yeah, that was like something that was really big in my school, in my college. I mean, just having shrines, and like in college, at least in my college, everyone was pretty chill. Like, of course, mean people exist, and like, I'm not saying that college was sunshine and lollipops, but for the most part, like, people were fairly chill and like decent people. Do I regret going to college? No, I don't. I think it was fun. And even though, my grandmother got sick and I couldn't continue living on campus with my grandmother getting sick and with COVID, I still enjoyed the time I had. Excuse me while I get a sip of water. I don't want this in you guys' ears. You see, I'm not a talkative person until I start talking. That's the weird thing about me. Okay, that did not come out how I wanted it to. That is one of the downsides of animation is sometimes you will animate something and then when you go back over it because you need to add more detail to it or you need to break it up finer, it ends up not working out how you originally envisioned it. Which kind of sucks, especially for like the amount of time you spent on it. But it's like you just have to get used to it. So I'm actually gonna have to redo this, and let me erase some of this. Now I had planned this out like months ago, and this was back when my foreshortening skills weren't actually. Instead of just erasing all this, because I'm gonna need a reference. That's the. I don't want to be short-sighted because I am gonna need to reference this later, but. Actually, yeah, I'll duplicate this layer. Then I'm going to turn this off. Go down here. Now, foreshortening, the art of having things get bigger or smaller the closer they are to you, that is not my strong suit. I am working on it. Shit. But I especially hate when that happens. Because it actually makes me more worried that that actually has to be something. There's no way that. Mm, okay. I'll delete this. I actually don't know how I want this to look. So essentially, this is supposed to be a gag where the character on the right, I mean, yeah, the character on the right is flirting with the character on the left. And she sort of like bats him away. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to have a scene where he is rocking back and then he sort of like gets up in her face or like at least does this exaggerated expression. The only issue with that is when I was roughing it out, I didn't pay much attention to the feet, so now I sort of have to figure out how his feet are supposed to move. The only issue with that is when you're working on feet, sort of your body, your legs sort of move with your torso, which I will figure something out. I'm not getting anxiety because you guys are looking at this shit show and saying, he doesn't know how to animate. Okay. Allow me to implement another technique. Let me insert a new layer. And let's see. So here's what I'm going to do. So right here, his head is supposed to make a movement like this, then slowly recede. Actually, let me change the color real quick. So I'll probably go with a green color to further stand out. So what's supposed to happen is he's supposed to be right here. He sort of reels back. He's supposed to jab forward. And then as she backs him off, he's supposed to keep walking. Actually, his head doesn't go that way. Let me fix that. That's the one issue with foreshortening is you have to keep in mind where the feet are as well as the torso. Okay. Now that that is done, let me change this to about 25% opacity. So then I can still make it out while also still working on this. So let me go back to the rough. Allow me to take another sip of water. Right now I have headphones on, so I like to cover the mic while I drink water because this is not an ASMR video. At least not until I get a VTuber model. So, not until I get a VTuber model or something like that. I'm joking. So I guess I can go into like chair creep. So I guess I can go into why this scene is important. So in my show, which is 13, the main character, Owoh, he is a fish out of water. He is a man out of time. The world has gone through much growth and development. Like I said in my last live stream, essentially magic has been reintroduced into the world. And it's not one of those stories where, oh, magic is outlawed or only a few people can use magic. This is a different take as to where magic is commonplace. Everyone can use magic or some form of magic, and it's been implemented into regular society. In this world, magic is seen as a green and renewable resource. And so with that, technology has been able to advance and expand. And so this is a scene it's meant to sort of tease what the world looks like now, as well as be a sort of like calm scene where you see the world in a sort of more natural, everyday light, because it's meant to juxtapose Owoh, who is this man who has been hurt, who is seeking revenge, and it's supposed to sort of juxtapose light versus dark. And so that's why this scene is important. And which is why, while I didn't take much stock into character design and why the characters may seem fairly basic, they still need to exist and they still need to be animated somewhat well. Not saying that I'm trying to half-ass or anything, but this is a scene that needs to get done. And it's my shortest scene. Like, this scene is maybe only 2 seconds long, but it's still very important because there's a lot you're going to see in these 2 seconds. And I do want to finish this teaser. I do want this project to be done. But at the same time, I don't want to half-ass it. Because animation is something that I've just always wanted to do. And I love animation. I love animating. It's really fun. Oh, shit. I hate when that happens. So let me see. Let me turn on my onion skin. And I guess I've really gotten more into animating and just my art in general because not a lot of stuff on TV has interested me. And YouTube, even though I love YouTube, I watch it fairly often. Things have just kind of gotten dry for me, so I've wanted to make my own content. And yeah, I guess working on my own animated teaser and eventually my own pilot or show is sort of meant to. It's more than just a pastime. I love animation. I love art in general. It's just while I'm experiencing this sort of content block where nothing is really interesting, I might as well do something with this pent up interest. And I can put that into things like my art, maybe D&D, maybe other things like my animations and stuff like that. Because I enjoy it. Wow, we've almost reached 1 hour. Yeah, because it's almost 4 o'clock where I live. Let's see here. So, I did actually get back into Dragon Age Inquisition, and honestly, I've been practically addicted to that game. Like, it's actually really good and it's really fun. And I really like the mechanics of the round table because it essentially it like sells the feeling of you being an important character. Because one of the things that I love is I love sort of like kingdom games or like colony games where you have to make big decisions. But at the same time, I like the more realism of it where your actions sort of actually have consequences. Like if you choose to execute a noble, like people are going to hate you for it. Or like if you complete something, then a new operation opens up. And that's pretty fun. Like, and that's one of the things that I love and try to get across in my D&D games too, is that I just like the feeling of influencing things, of being a figure of importance. Not in like the regular sense of, oh, you're a hero, everyone listens to you. It's more so like, what you say and how you say it matters, which is pretty awesome. After I. Shit. The next exercise I do is going to be a walk cycle animation. And I'm not talking about like some regular side side view of a walking animation. Like I mean like forward facing or like uh quarter facing walking animation because that's one of the you see I can do practically anything. It's just those two scenes. It's just those two things. Like forward facing walking and foreshortening. Those are my two difficulties. Anything else with animation, give me time, like give me enough time to work on it. I can do anything. It's just those two things, foreshortening and walking. And I know I'm gonna have to get better at it because just shit. Shit. Actually, I should stop cursing. That's probably why I don't have many followers or views because YouTube likes to shadow ban people for cursing. And, mm, mm, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I'm actually gonna have to look this up now because now it's just bothering me. Forward. You know what I should have done? I should have just animated a regular walking forward motion, and then I should have just gone back and done the exaggerated expression. I feel like that would have. Shit. That would have been so much easier if I just did like that. Actually, I can use the other jogger runner as like a source. Like I'll just actually yeah, that's how you make up for your mistakes. Just look at the other things you drew and animated and try to reverse engineering. Because actually, one of the things that I picked up from this was actually the League of Legends more music video, and like even though it's 3D animation, but essentially the same sort of concepts can be learned. But what I loved about the more music video is that their dance moves, even though they do the same dance moves, it's varied. It's like Akali dance is different from Kaisa, and Kaisa dance is different from Evelyn. Like Akali, she'll actually look to her side and she'll look at Kaisa for like cues, and Kaisa she just dances really fast. And so even though they're doing like the same sort of dancing moves, the animators didn't copy and paste them. Each of them have their own sort of like quirks that they animated. And that's just another way to sort of like sell a scene or to sell like realism and the gravity of a scene is that even when characters are doing something the same or something similar, there can be like slight variations and differences that sort of sell the emotion and sell the liveliness or energy of characters, which is cool, which is pretty awesome, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I'm gonna have to start all over. I'm sorry guys. It's a good thing I copied it. It is a good thing I made a duplicate. I'll just start over with this. Guess that just means that this scene won't get done, but I'm not gonna say this scene won't get done, but like I am gonna have to spend some more time. And even though I'm sad about it, it's better than fucking it's better than messing up or no. Just not doing it at all. Wait, why did I do that? I duplicated this. You know, sometimes your brain doesn't work. Let me clear these frames. So clear them. I'm then going to add insert new frames because I just cleared all the frames. Now let me alter the opacity of this frame, and I'm going to change it to about 40%. So even though it's still visible, it's not too hard to see and perceive. Let's see, I'm going to hide this frame. And now with this frame right here, I just want to get the basic figure again like I did last time. And like this is the basic figure. Like not even clothes or anything. Just what this character is meant to sort of be doing. Actually, let me play with the opacity of this layer right here, because I can tell that. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So for starters, I'm gonna erase this. I think my problem is I'm trying to have this character keep up with his partner rather than just sort of moving on his own. I feel like if I just was less critical, maybe this will come out better. And again, this is a rough, so I don't really have to care about presentation. So let me actually try this real quick. Free transform tool. I'm going to do that. Right here. Good. Okay. I'll probably finish this last frame, then I'll probably call it for the day. At least streaming wise. I don't like to stream too late in the day. I usually like to stream for like shorter periods of time. Anyway, this has been a fun stream, a short stream, but a fun stream. I wanted to start the stream earlier, but I was finishing up some concept art for something. Just a little side project, nothing major. But yeah, I was doing some concept art earlier, and then I had a break for lunch. Then I scrolled on my phone, and what was supposed to be for 5 minutes ended up turning into 30 minutes. So sadly, this stream did come to you guys late, but I'm glad I did a stream nonetheless. Anyway, this has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share even. And, you can click the bell if you want to. Just, if you like what I do here, be sure to visit from time to time. Okay? This has been Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. And I'll see you guys in my next live stream or video. Bye.